Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a new Ferrothorn card, because ladies and gentlemen, this one's kind of weird and kind of complicated and kind of awkward, and I don't really care, because I think it's like a really, really good card, or at least worth a test. So Ferrothorn then revealed on the official Japanese website, translated by the lovely David Hochmann, who does provide the majority of our translations on this channel. We like David. We're David fans. It's got 120 HP, which we know is one of the bad numbers, because stuff like Zoroark GX or Baby Buzzwole, when you've got 4 prizes left, will be hitting 120 and getting a KO. This is a very bad thing. The retreat cost of 3 is very high. That's not ideal. The weakness to fire is fine because the good fire stuff is stuff like Blacephalon, which is going to get a KO regardless, so it doesn't really matter. We do like the resistance to Psychic because of stuff like Garbodor or maybe even Latios. Okay, it will hit you fine on the bench, but in the active, it won't do very much at all. As for being a metal Pokemon, we've made this point in a couple videos lately. Between stuff like Alolan Ninetales, which looks like it's about to shape up the meta when Lost Thunder releases, and Sylveon, which just won the biggest regional we've ever had in Europe, fair to say that hitting for metal weakness against fairy Pokemon, pretty gosh darn good right now. And you can always use something like Delmise to do a little bit of extra damage if you feel so inclined. But it is the attacks that we are mostly worried about here, and the first one is fine. It's not great, it's not amazing, it's fine. It's alright. It's okay. Sorry. 20 damage, and then during your opponent's next turn, any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 20. Now, it's decent enough for a single energy attack, but you're a stage 1. So you've had to spend time evolving up, and generally speaking, when you've had to spend time evolving up, you want to do more than 20 damage. It's not quite enough. Now, don't get me wrong, you're generally, for stuff like Sylveon and Alolan Ninetales, looking to hit for 100 if you add a choice band when you add in the weakness, which will be a 2-hit KO, and you do have 120 HP here. And Sylveon is generally only hitting for 110, so it's not the worst thing ever. It's fine, but it's not particularly exciting. As for the reducing damage, that will give you that little bit of extra survivability. Something like a Baby Buzzwole, Haynick, or a Zoroark will be struggling to KO you here. Although having said that, Buzzwole still going to be playing a Diancie Prism Star, which will get the KO. But at least Zoroark won't. Even with something like a Devoured Field, they're only actually going to hit 130, which will be reduced to 110, and you will take that hit. So it's quite nice. It's a decent little attack. It's a nice kind of, if you've got energy on, if you've got an energy, if you've got the Ferrothorn out, it's a decent little attack. It might buy you a turn or two with the reducing damage. It might be able to do just enough to get a KO. The thing that annoys me is if you're against something like a Ralts, for instance, which has got 60 HP and a weakness to metal, you won't be getting a KO here unless you play something like a Dalmise. The damage is nice, the single energy is nice, the reducing damage is nice, but this attack doesn't really ever do enough. Not enough damage, not enough reduction. On a basic, fine. On a stage 1, I don't love it. But what really intrigues me about this card is the second attack. Choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, bearing in mind you've got 80 base damage here. This attack does 20 damage to that Pokemon, times the number of metal energy attached to this Pokemon, up to a maximum of 100 damage. So, if you've got 3 metal energy on there, you are doing 80 to the active, 60 to the bench. I like this quite a lot. Because we saw stuff like, Darkrai back in the day, for instance, which did 90 to the active, 30 to the bench. Or even Umbreon GX nowadays, which admittedly doesn't see a lot of play, but Umbreon's still the best evolution, fight me in the comment section, which does 90 to the active and 30 to the bench. Most of the time, I'd rather be doing 80 to the active, 60 to the bench, especially in a format where we've got choice band to do more to EXs and GXs. And then, of course, you could add in quite nicely Shrine of Punishment here to be spreading a lot of damage. And as I've said time and time and time again in these videos, bench damage of 60 is what you're looking for. You want to be hitting 60 damage on the bench. 60 damage on the bench is what you should be aiming for. That, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely the goal here. Because something like a Routes on the bench will go down in one hit. Something like a Zorua on the bench will go down in one hit. Something like an Inkay on the bench will go down in one hit. There are a myriad of 60 HP evolving Pokemon which are seeing play at the moment, all of which will go down to this. Now, I'm just talking about free metal energy here. You can go further. You can only go up to 100, but if you've got 5 metal energy on here, I mean, first of all, yes, it's a little bit dodgy in terms of when you get taken down, that's a lot of energy to lose. But secondly, you should be 2-hit KOing in the active and on the bench. Now, sure, there's a bunch of bench sitters like a Rangaroo which will actually be able to take a hit here, but there's a whole bunch of people out there playing Makago at the moment which has, oh look, 90 HP. Which means you can actually take a Makago off the bench. So either with this attack, you should be 1-hit KOing evolving Pokemon or some bench sitters, or 2-hit KOing GXs, while you're 2-hit KOing something in the active. You won't be 1-hit KOing much with this. But non-GXs tend to have up to 160, think something like Solgaleo Prism Star, or Empoleon. And then if you're against a GX, you add a choice band, you're doing 110. Over 2 turns, that's 220, and if that's not enough, you add a Shrine of Punishment. And after your turn, their turn, your turn, you're up to 250, and even a big boy like a Metagross is going down at that point. So with Choice Band and Shrine of Punishment, you are literally 2-hit KOing anything while doing up to 100 bench damage. And I don't think you really need the 100 bench damage here. I think 60 bench damage is largely what you're going to want. It means your opponent is going to have to really think twice about benching that evolving basic. It means if you're against a Zoroark deck, you're 2-hit KOing a Zoroark in the active, while your opponent goes, well, I can't bench a single Zorua, I have to bench a pair of Zorua, knowing that one of them is going to be KO'd. Essentially here, you're taking 4 prizes in 2 turns. It's essentially the equivalent of taking a KO on a GX every turn, but over 2 turns. And yes, that opens you up to healing. Maybe your opponent drops a max potion. I mean, if you're hitting a bench Pokemon, they're likely to probably not have much energy on. So that does make max potion less of a risk. But then again, is your opponent really going to be playing max potion? And this is what excites me about Ferrothorn. It's a Pokemon that can really do a lot of damage with one attack. It can take out pre-evolutions, it can 2-hit GXs on the bench, and all while 2-hit KOing in the active. Now, although the attack cost is colourless, clearly we don't want to use double colourless here. Yeah, sure, if you play double colourless, you can still have 80 damage, but 80 damage for free colourless energy on a stage 1 is nothing to write home about. What makes this Pokemon so appealing is the fact that you can then snipe for up to 100, so it needs to be metal energy with which you're paying the attack cost. And you have got a couple of options here. Now, you do have the aforementioned Solgaleo Prism Star. Big downside of that, of course, it's generally a once per game kind of thing. It's not all that reliable. There is, however, Magnezone. Now, I know Magnezone's a stage 2, and then you're combining it with this as a stage 1, blah, blah, blah. But Magnezone can attach as much energy as you like during your turn. With Garbodor having rotated out, the only way to turn this off is to pop a Slacking in the active, which is not going to be happening that often. And you've always got Mount Coronet here, which will allow you to recover 2 of your metal energy per turn. And you only really need free metal energy. And when you're talking about a single prize Pokemon, with energy that really is actually quite easy to get on there, but because of the whole Magnezone Mount Coronet thing, which is 2-hit KO in the active, while 2-hit KO in the bench or taking out evolving Pokemon. I think we've got a bit of potential here. The first attack is incredibly underwhelming. Second attack's kind of interesting though. I think this could be good. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would of course be barbaric. Maybe this is always too awkward, maybe it never works out. But I am sure there is a deck here where you're just wrecking your opponent's board, and that's a deck I want to play. But I want to know from you guys, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Go nuts! But do remember to be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do that. And do make sure you are checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays. We are deep into Transformers right now, and that's a lot of fun. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.